a black background with white writing that says Georgia and Kat's accessible audio-described science videos with an exclamation mark at the end of the sentence. The words Biology Core Practical 3 food tests are under it.
Hello and welcome to our accessible audio-described science videos. I'm Kat.
And I'm Georgia.
Today we are going to be testing different types of food to find out what nutrients they contain.
There's a picture that is on the screen that is of 3 test solutions that are in bottles and 4 different types of food that are in pots and bottles. You can also see 2 pairs of safety goggles and 6 boiling tubes that are in the same blue holder that we had used for when we were making our video that was about enzyme activity.
The first food test that we're going to do is the food test for starch. The 4 foods that we've got are pasta, cheese, milk and oil. We need to make the food into a solution and then we need to add the test solution, which is the iodine.
We are putting all of the 4 foods into 4 different test tubes and then we are adding water to them. We are going to put the palms of one of our hands over the top of them and gently shake them. We are then adding some drops of iodine using a pipette to each test tube and we will see what colour that it goes. The pasta that is in the first test tube has changed from orange to a colour that is blue-black, and that shows that the pasta contains starch. The cheese that is in the second test tube has stayed orange, which is the same colour as the iodine because the cheese doesn't contain starch. The oil has also stayed orange and the milk has done that too.
This shows that the only food that we have tested that contains starch is the pasta, because that's the only food that has changed colour when we added the iodine to it. We are now going to wash the test tubes so that we can do the same experiment again, but we are going to use ethanol instead of iodine because that is the food test for lipids, which is fat.
We are using a pipette to add the ethanol, which is colourless, which is a sciencey word that is for clear, to the pasta. And then we are going to add it to the cheese and to the oil and to the milk. The colour that is of the pasta doesn't change because the pasta doesn't contain lipids, but the water that is at the top of the test tube that has got the cheese in it has gone cloudy at the top of it because the cheese contains some lipids. The oil has gone really cloudy because the oil contains lots of lipids. The colour of the milk hasn't changed.
It is difficult for us to know if the milk has gone cloudy because the colour of the milk is already cloudy, but this test shows that oil contains lots of fat and that the cheese contains some. The other 2 foods that we have tested have got a test that is negative. We are now going to do the test that is for protein and we are going to use Burette to do it.
Burette is a solution that is pale blue. We are adding the 4 different foods to the test tubes that we have washed again, and we are using a pipette to add the burette to the test tubes. We have to add it lots of times because not very much of it is coming out of the pipette. The pasta doesn't change colour when we are adding the burette to it because it doesn't contain protein. The cheese has gone a little bit purple because it contains some proteins. The oil has stayed blue, which is the same colour as the burette, but the colour that is of the milk has changed to a purple that is very dark because the milk contains lots of proteins.
Now we're going to do the last test, which is the test for glucose. This test is a bit different as we need heat to activate the Benedict solution before it will change colour. We will do this in a water bath. You could also use a Bunsen burner to heat it.
The Benedict that we are using is in a round bottle that is a white colour that is cloudy. The colour that is of Benedict is transparent blue. We are now putting the 4 foods that we had used for when we had done the other 3 food tests with water into the test tubes, and then we are adding Benedicts to the test tubes too.
We are now going to add some hot water that we've just boiled into a beaker that we're going to put the test tubes into. This is our water bath.
We are pouring some water that is from a kettle into the beaker, and then we are placing each of the test tubes into the beaker. You can see the colour that is of the Benedicts reflecting in the water. You can also see lots of bubbles that are Benedicts that are rising up inside of the test tubes. None of the foods have changed to the colour that they should change to if they contain glucose, but the milk has gone purple. But we think that that is because the milk is white and the Benedict is blue.
We weren't expecting anything was going to happen when we were going to do this test with these foods. So we've also got a jelly baby and some honey and some sugar, since we know that the jelly baby and the honey will contain glucose, so should give us a positive result.
We are putting a jelly baby that is yellow into the first test tube, and then we are squeezing a bottle that has got the honey in it into the second test tube. And then we are using a spatula, which is a metal sciencey spoon that is a rectangular shape, to put the sugar into the last test tube. We have got to put the sugar into the test tube lots of times because there isn't very much of it that is going onto the spatula for each of the times that we are doing it. Then we are adding Benedict to the test tube again, and we are also using the kettle again to add the hot water to a beaker that we are putting the test tubes into. The bottom of the jelly baby has changed colour to orange, and the honey has changed from the golden colour that it normally is, and then it's changed to yellow, and then it had changed to green, and then the last colour that it had changed to is orange, that is really dark. It looks amazing when it is changing from so many different colours. Nothing has happened to the colour that is of the sugar. It was a video that was sped up when the colours were changing.
The positive test for lots of glucose is brick red, but any colour change shows glucose is present. This means the jelly baby and honey both contained glucose, but the pasta, cheese, oil, milk and sugar don't contain glucose.
We hope that you have found this video accessible and interesting.
Please feel free to leave us a comment. And don't forget to subscribe for more accessible content.